Good morning and welcome to another episode of Conversations with Buddy. Just a quick shout out to The Rec for hosting this podcast each week. The Rec, way more than a bowling alley. We drop a new podcast every Friday morning with a new story that will impact someone. We hope that someone is you. I just want to say thank you again to all the listeners each week who take the time to hear the stories of our guests. Please take a moment and subscribe to our podcast, give us a review, and share this podcast with your friends, family, and on your favorite social media platform. We want to get these messages out to the people and impact the world one testimony at a time. This morning, I'm excited and grateful to introduce you to my guest and friend, Jeff Laeng. Welcome, Jeff.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here, and I'm proud to be called your friend. That makes
awesome.
Me happy.
You know, it's funny. We've known each other or about each other for a very long time.
Yeah.
And I think you mentioned it last time we met, because you're in the mortgage industry.
Correct.
We met a long time ago at a golf tournament, Polk County Association of Realtors.
Exactly.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
I try to recall the weekend. Sometimes I can't even do that.
Well, I'm easily forgettable,
Okay.
First of all. But it's probably about 15, 16 years ago. And I always remember I was in the shadow of Buddy Puckett. Everyone knew Buddy Puckett and the Dallas Monmouth area and everything. And I just remember meeting you. It was an event, a golf event.
Yeah.
It was probably on a Thursday. And I think it was probably 15, 16 years ago.
Wow. You have a good memory.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
But then, and then I knew about you and everything and never really had a chance to connect with you. And then by, God's chances, I got to work with Emily and stuff, your daughter.
Yeah.
In the same office and everything, and found out she was your daughter and everything. So it's cool.
It's a funny story.
It was great. It was great. It was meant to be.
Yeah. Well, now I'm in your shadow because you're the man.
Let's not go that far, but I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, hey, let's dive in real quick. I got a lot of great questions for you, but let me do a quick introduction of you first. Things that you shared with me that, because I'm just getting to know you as well. Even though we've known about each other for a long time, we don't really know each other.
Correct.
But I'm getting to know who you are, and discipline is the word we're going to talk about today. It's going to be really awesome. So, well, here, let me just dive in real quick. So first of all, you've been married for 27 years, and today's your anniversary.
Correct.
Happy anniversary to you
and your
and your
much.
wife.
I'm very blessed. Yes.
And by the way, what's your wife's name?
So her name is Cindy.
Cindy.
Yes.
And okay, you have a different name for her as well.
Let's not go that far. Let's
Cindy.
I'll tell her name's Thumper. I call her Thumper sometimes. Yes.
Got it.
Goes
Okay.
back. Yeah.
Perfect. Very cool. Well, happy anniversary. That's
Thank you very
really
much.
incredible. And then you guys dated for 8 years before?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. You have a son. He's 23. He plays college baseball in Southern California.
Correct.
What college does he go to?
He goes to Division II at Concordia University in Irvine, right next to UC Irvine.
Okay. So he obviously played baseball growing up. Did you also?
I played, up to high school, and then I got really into college, into golf.
Okay.
Played a lot of golf in high school on the team and everything.
Okay.
But then kind of went away from it, and then my son, probably about when he was 3 or 4 years old, developed a love for baseball, and kind of went from there. Yeah.
And so now he's still playing.
Yes.
And what's your son's name?
Connor.
Connor. So you've been in the mortgage business for 19 years.
Correct.
All in Dallas.
Correct.
And same company?
Yes.
The whole time.
Correct.
What's the name of the company?
Avenue Mortgage.
Avenue Mortgage. That's incredible because nobody stays the same company for that many years.
You're
For the most
correct.
part.
Yes.
That's cool. We're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
Before that, you worked for Bose Corporation as a sales training customer engagement manager for 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
Bose is a great company.
Correct.
I mean, I love the product that they make. You love getting up early in the morning and the discipline around it. Some of your best memories was going to the golf course with your grandfather at 7 a.m. in the morning, as well as going surfing before going to high school in the morning. So real quick, where did you grow up at? Because you don't surf in Oregon, really. I mean, people do, but not likely.
Yeah, I was very blessed. I had a great upbringing. I grew up in Southern California and had some really good friends down there, LA County, and then we moved to Orange County.
Yeah, Orange County, where it's at, huh?
Yeah, but I've lived in LA County. I was about 25 minutes from the beach at the time in La Mirada, California.
Okay.
And went to a private Catholic school and had some good friends, and we'd get up, 5:30 in the morning, meet over at my house, and then go over to the beach and then surf for like half hour, 40 minutes, and then get back to the house, shower, and then get to school by 8 a.m.
Is that where that early morning, like I love getting up early morning just because the camaraderie of that, going to the beach and surfing, is that where it all began, or was it grandpa?
No, I think it was even before then, because my grandfather, who I was really close to my grandparents, I was very blessed with great grandparents, and he was a former military Air Force major.
Wow.
So he kind of instilled, in my uncle also, they were always up early, but my grandpa would get up at 4:35 every morning, and then we'd be at the golf course, especially when I was younger, probably 6th, 7th grade, we'd be at the golf course probably by 6:30, and And I just remember the dew on the grass at, 7 a.m. and getting out there and just, and I actually, some of the great memories was going to military bases with my grandfather, El Toro Marine Base, which is no longer there in Orange County.
Right.
And seeing the fighter jets doing the touch and goes and being right up again. It was just beautiful. It was a wonderful time.
Man, your grandfather made a serious impact in your life, didn't he?
Yes.
Just that early morning, just the dew on the grass, that memory. Wow. How cool is that you had somebody in your life doing that for you?
Absolutely. Yeah. I was very blessed. My grandma was very, very wonderful lady as well. And in fact, I tell you a story. I was running down Miller Highway or Avenue in Dallas probably about a year and a half ago. Yeah. And it was early summer morning, and I saw a dad and his son walking with their golf bags behind them.
Yeah.
And I kind of stopped, and it was like probably 6:30, 7 in the morning. I told the father and the son how great it was seeing them walking, and told the son, enjoy this time with your dad, because it's just a great time, and congratulate the dad spending the time with him and everything.
And you could have just blown right past him and said, that's cool. But you didn't. You took the time to stop, really to celebrate a dad doing that, and really his son probably not even recognizing how cool that is.
Exactly. You're exactly right, buddy. It was more for the son to hopefully he'll appreciate it someday of what his dad was doing for him in that point in time.
So, and we'll get to your son. I want to hear kind of your relationship with your son and kind of those moments that you had with him, because I'm sure there were some early morning moments.
Oh yeah.
So, okay. So take us back a little bit. I know you've been in Dallas for the last 19 years doing mortgages, but where did life begin for you? I know you said LA County, Orange County, and then the transition up to Oregon. Walk us through that journey. I want to hear all about it.
Yeah, I went to Cal State Fullerton in Fullerton, California. Graduated from college there with marketing business degree.
Yeah.
What
year?
You're going to date me here. Well, let's just count. I'm 25 times 2 plus 4. Okay, so there's your age right now.
Okay.
So as mathematicians, you can figure that out quick. So I graduated from high school in 87. Yeah. Graduated from college in 92. I had a semester at the beginning where it was very shaky. Yeah. First year of college. Yeah. Growing from a structured environment of high school to an unstructured college environment where they don't really give a rip if you're there or not. So that first 6 months was a big transition for me. And then, so I really graduated over the next 4.5 years. And then I think, so that was 92. We had some jobs in between there. And then my family was going to be moving up to Oregon. And my wife and I didn't really want to start a family down in Southern California.
What year did you get married?
96.
Okay. So
96.
So you were starting to date in college?
Yes. Yeah. In fact, I just graduated from high school, so I was a year out, and then she was a junior, senior in high school.
So you guys met each other in high school. You guys were...
Well, I was in college. She was in high school. Okay. Yeah. So I robbed the cradle. Yes. She's 2 years younger than me.
Oh.
And then, so we dated for 8 years. She put up with me, and then we decided we didn't want to raise a family down there. And I'm very blessed. She was a very hard worker as well, and she was in the restaurant industry, management for like Claim Jumper restaurants, and stuff. So she did a lot of stuff there, and then we decided to move up to Oregon in 96 after we got married. Shortly after we got married, so we moved up in 96.
Okay, what? Okay, why did your family move to Oregon? What was it? It
was the same situation where they just wanted a different change life, but also a better quality of life.
Yeah.
And not that Southern California wasn't great quality of life. It was just a lot of things were going there, very expensive to raise a family. A lot of crime and everything at the time. And my mom at that time lived in LA County, so they wanted to get out. And I came from a single family. My mom was a single mom raising 2 kids, and I don't know how she did it, to be honest with you. I love her to death. And in fact, she works for me to this day.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, she's 80 years old and
still doing mortgages. She's
still working with me. She's my processor. She's there every morning at 7:30, 7:45, doesn't leave. I have to kick her out, to be honest with you. About
at 80.
At 80 years old. Yeah. And she does not want to. She gets mad if I ask her if she's ready to retire. She does not want to. Yeah. It's her way of living longer, I think. And my son is the other big reason.
That's funny.
Yeah. So we moved up in 96, and then took a job with the Bose Corporation shortly after that. Mm-hmm. And that was a great experience. It really taught me a lot about how to make an experience with people, creating an experience with people, and having fun with people,
right,
and everything.
Yeah, it's funny. You and I have a lot of similarities. We're both in the mortgage industry. You've been married for a long time. I've been married for a long time. My dad just turned 80 yesterday, so
congratulations.
Yeah, just kind of funny. He obviously doesn't work with me in the mortgage industry, but it's so cool that your mom does it.
Yes,
she still loves that. It keeps her alive, keeps her moving
Absolutely.
forward.
Yeah, it's great. It's great having her there.
So you said your mom was a single parent,
correct?
And then you have a sibling.
Well, there's things that happen in our lives that I think can impact us in a positive way.
Yeah.
It can also impact us in a negative way. And I think we all make choices in our lives.
Yes, we do.
So when my sister was 23, she was married at the time.
Is she younger or older than you?
She was younger.
Okay.
About 7.5 years younger.
Okay.
Yeah. So we had a really close bond.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, she passed away in July of 2001. Wow. Yeah, July of 2001, suddenly. And so that was devastating, to be honest with you. It was devastating to the family. And I was very, very fortunate. You know, God blessed me with a son a little bit before that.
Yeah.
And I think that was huge for us.
Right.
In that regard. In fact, I think she passed away. Yeah, that's right. I was right. But he was really a reason to live.
Yeah.
You know, one of the books I go back to often is Viktor Frankl's A Man's Search for Meaning.
Good book.
Very good, very great book.
Okay.
But we all have to have a reason to live. And, you know, at the time, you know, he was the reason to live, my son. And he really helped my family through a lot. And he had heart surgery when he was 3 months old.
No kidding.
So we didn't have time to necessarily, as much as we all wanted to mourn the loss of my sister, we had to focus on what was really going on with him and as well.
Yeah.
So it's amazing. And I'm glad you said a prayer at the beginning, you know, how God impacts us and what he does for us and the reasons for things. We never know sometimes.
And we all go through trials and tribulations.
Absolutely.
I mean, I've been thinking as I get older, I just had a recent birthday as well. And, you know, I'm surprised I'm made it this far, but, you know, I often talk with people, everybody's got a story. And if you're young enough, you may not have felt some of the pain. If you're old enough, you've definitely felt more pain.
Absolutely.
And I think that's God's plan to keep us humble, to keep us, just keep our priorities right.
Yep.
Because we get caught up really easy. You know, you're busy at work and you're doing loans but that's not it. That's what we do, but that's not our full purpose.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And I think the passing of my sister was a changing point for me too, because it allowed me to realize there's a lot more to life, but how do we impact people is a big thing. And if we can either, and I had someone, he was a boss of mine at Bose Corporation at the time, but he says, you know, there's two kinds of people in life, those who give energy and those who take energy. And who do you want to be, the one who's giving energy or the one who's sucking the energy?
Right. And
people don't want to be around the people sucking the energy for very long.
Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm. Good stuff. All right. So you moved up to Oregon, worked for Bose, had a son. So you had him in probably what, 2000. 2000.
Yep. Yeah. August of 2000.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he has recently had a birthday as well.
Yes.
Okay. And then what year is he in college?
Academically, he's a senior. Okay. Athletically, he's a junior. So because of COVID, was a blessing for him.
Yeah.
He got 2 more years of athletics. So he's going to graduate in May, but then he'll go for his master's so he can finish off his playing year. So he'll get his master's.
So did you guys get to go watch him at all play baseball?
We try to get down there as much as possible, especially during the season. Yeah. So, you know, I may fly out like on a Friday evening and then fly back Sunday evening or early Monday morning or something like that.
How cool is that?
But I want to make sure my wife gets down there as much as possible because it's just the experience for her to be able to enjoy the time with him as well.
Totally. What position does he play?
A short second and third.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Those are tough positions to play.
Yeah. And he's the polar opposite. He's 6'1", 185 pounds. So he's the taller version of me, I guess.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Isn't it funny how our kids are taller than we are? Like Emily is way taller than me and Sean as well.
But I'm okay with that. I'm completely fine with that.
Totally good with that. All right. So you jump in the mortgage business, what, 2003?
January 2005.
Oh, January 2005.
Yep,
okay. What made you get in the mortgage industry?
Well, I was traveling a lot with the Bose Corporation at the time. And I was probably on the road probably 48 to 50, 49 weeks of the year. So I was on the road a lot. And my son was about 4 years at the time, 4 years old at the time. And I'd done some praying and stuff. And, I wanted to be home with him more. And I still remember to this day, we were living off of Bonanza at the time. And it was a morning I was getting ready to leave. And I think he was probably 4 years old at the time. He was getting ready to leave, pull out the driveway early in the morning. And I just remember him in the window, vividly in the window, just crying and reaching out for me. And it broke my heart. But at the same time, my wife was a stay-at-home mom. So I knew it was a sacrifice I had to make, but just kept praying about, bringing me this opportunity at some point. And some good friends of mine who I went to college with, Patrick and John, still great friends with them. They had a mortgage business. Yeah. And I kept in touch with them and everything. And for all these years, and they just said, "Hey, Jeff, we think you'd be great in the industry. You've got the customer service skills. You love people.
You love people."
And I told my situation, everything. And I said, I basically need a salary to come over. And they were very kind at the time. And they offered me a salary to leave Bose, and the rest is history. So we became partners and everything. So the rest is history.
That's so cool. Yeah. Well, we're going to get into the subject of discipline. One thing I'm most intrigued because you and I, so my wife and I, Sean, we went out to see Emily one day at the place that she works, and you're also in that same building, Correct. Which is kind of cool. And so she thinks you're really funny, by the way.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
And you have a word. What's the word that you use probably every day? What is that word?
It is every day. It's splendiferous.
Where did that word come from? What does it mean to you?
I heard it somewhere. And then I do remember vividly hearing it. We were on a cruise, my son and I and my mom and my wife were on a cruise, probably 12, 14 years ago, maybe probably 14, 15 years ago at the time. And I remember it was a Carnival cruise line, and the guy says, "Splendiferous ship on a stick." And I think I'd used it before, but it didn't really stick. And then really since then, it was just different. I just like being different. And I was like, that's something that's going to catch people and makes people smile.
Yep.
And most people, when they hear it, they don't think it's a real word.
Yeah.
And I've actually won a couple bets. I've actually won a newspaper ad. I've once wasted $1 off someone that didn't believe it was a word. And when they look it up, they reckon it's a word, and it makes people smile.
That's too funny. I didn't know it was a word either, but no, I love that you make people laugh, and Emily can come home almost every day with a story about Jeff.
I appreciate
her laugh. So that's really, it's
that
funny.
means a lot. That means a lot.
Totally. Walk us through your morning routine, because I think there's something I need to learn. There's probably a lot of people on here who's going to go, okay, I'm going to take some notes here. So I would really encourage people to take notes here. You have a unique routine that's way more disciplined than probably anybody I know. And I don't know much about it, but I'm going to hear more about it. What does a day look like to you? And I know part of this is, I asked if you want a coffee this morning. You said, no, I don't drink coffee. And I think Emily told me that, but I didn't remember. And incorporate that in there as well. So your routine, why it's important to you, and then why no coffee? There's a story behind that.
Okay, I'll start off with no coffee right from the beginning. Okay. Because again, it goes back to childhood and everything. It's the reason why I don't drink alcohol as well. There's another reason for that.
Yeah.
Is one, my dad was an alcoholic.
Yeah.
And his dad was an alcoholic.
Yeah.
And
now, when you talk about your grandfather, that's your mom's.
That's my dad's dad was an alcoholic, but my mom's dad was the major in the Air Force.
Gotcha.
So he's the one I had a really close relationship with.
And he's the one who took you golfing.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, cool.
So my dad's dad was an alcoholic.
Yeah.
And I just remember, it wasn't my dad was doing it out of wisdom or anything, but I remember, again, vividly, probably when I was 8 or 9, 10 years old, I just remember being in a restaurant with him and him offering, and I remember he used to always drink beer, but he used to also drink some sort of hard alcohol on the rocks. I just remember it was on the rocks. And I remember him giving me a taste of alcohol at dinner, asked me if I wanted a drink or something. And my mom she can't stand alcohol. And he had me taste this, and I absolutely hated it.
Yeah.
I could not stand the taste of it.
Yeah.
And I just, from that day on, it was like, I couldn't stand alcohol. And now, granted, I've drank in the past and everything, so I'm not perfect or anything.
Well, thank God, because I was.
Yeah. So I'm definitely not perfect. I mean, I had my run-ins with alcohol and stuff, but I couldn't stand it.
Yeah.
And then as far as coffee, I remember my grandmother giving me a taste of coffee and even hot cocoa when I was young, and I just could not stand the taste of a hot drink. And even to this day,
so no tea, no hot drinks.
No, I don't drink anything hot. Right. Every so often I have it's been years, a taste of hot cocoa, but it's maybe 1 or 2 drinks and that's it.
Yeah.
But even during the winter time when it's cold, I don't drink anything hot. So that's the reason for the no coffee thing.
I got it.
And most people say I don't need the caffeine anyways.
Yeah, you're
just
pretty wired.
My energy level.
Yeah.
But I usually get up, usually to no alarm, but I have an alarm set usually at 4:10, 4:15, but usually 4:10 in the morning.
Okay.
But like this morning, I was up at like 3:50. I mean, I was awake. I didn't actually get up until 4:08 is when I actually rolled out of bed.
But you know you're getting out of bed before 4:10.
Yeah,
That's
usually,
yeah.
I don't usually, the alarm doesn't usually ever wake me up.
Okay.
And then I get up at 4:10, and my wife jokes me, but it's very, very structured. But I get up 4:10, I go grab the Bible out of the bathroom.
Yeah.
I go to the stairs. I have laid out the night before. I have either a sweatshirt if it's the winter or a short sleeve sweatshirt with a hood.
Yeah.
I put that on. I go upstairs and I take an hour just to read the Bible for an hour.
Good for
Scriptures
you,
for an hour.
Yeah.
Till usually about 4:12 to 4:15 till about 5:15, 5:20 at the latest. And then I'll usually work from 5:20 to 5:45 answering any emails I didn't answer from like 7 or 7:30 that evening till the morning. So then those are done. And then I head out I put my hood up. Then I head out to the downstairs. Yeah. Usually it's about 5:50, right in that time frame. Okay. And then I'll take a drink of creatine water and a probiotic.
Yep.
Put my hood on. And then I go out to the garage about 5:55, right in that ballpark, 5:53. And so I have a gym out there that I actually had set up at half of the gym, half of the garage.
Yeah. When
my son was starting to train, when he was about sixth or seventh grade is when he started training.
Uh-huh.
And it's worked out great for me because I don't have to go to a gym.
Yeah.
But it's also, you have to be very disciplined to be able to work out in your house,
right,
in your garage, because it's so easy to turn around and not do it.
Right. Go back to bed or.
Right. That's exactly right, buddy. So that's part of the discipline is having the mindset of getting out there. And so, we've had a Peloton, we have a treadmill out there, and then we have a weight bench. I'm trying to think another like a pull down bar and everything. You guys have seen it, but a weight contraption. And so then I'll work out from 5:50, 5:53 till about 6. It's usually right around 6:35, 6:37 in that ballpark. I know it's very pinpoint with time, but there's a reason for all that.
Yeah.
And then I'll work out, weights and everything for that time frame. And I'll usually get on the treadmill about 7:40 to 7:42 this morning.
7:42?
6:42. 6:42. I'm sorry, 6:42, 6:40 and I run for 40 minutes. And like we spoke that day, I run for 40 minutes. It's not 38, not 39, not 41. It's 40 minutes.
40.
And during the week. So Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, I'll run on the treadmill.
Okay.
Monday morning, I'll usually do the Peloton for 40 minutes.
Okay.
Thursday, because I have a 7 a.m. meeting every Thursday, I'll just walk something later on, but I won't do any sort of running or anything like that to give my body a rest. But I still work out.
Yeah. That
morning, I'll just do weights.
So you work out 7 days a week?
Yes, I work 7 days a week. Now, that's not for everyone, but as I've gotten older, and I've worked out for so long, my body can recover quickly, but I also want to shock the body from time to time.
Right.
But I don't lift super heavy weights. So as I've been thinking about this the last few weeks of how we were going to talk and everything, I don't do anything less than 8 reps. And it's usually either 8 to 15 to 20 reps of whatever it may be.
Lots of movement.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so it's not heavy weights, but I will once a week, I'll usually work each body part at least twice a week, sometimes 3, depending on how it works out that week.
Yeah.
But one of those 2 workouts, I'll go heavier than the previous workout.
Yeah.
Then the next workout will be more just all about reps.
Right.
But again, it's just to keep the body in shape and everything. And also, again, it's mental. It's a lot to mental. I mean, anyone who's rode a treadmill, if you run 4, 5, 6, 7 miles on a treadmill, it's mentally grueling.
Yeah.
It really is mentally. And especially the first mile, it's tough because there's so many things in your mind that you just want to stop.
Right.
There's so many other things you could be doing.
Jeff, what are you doing, man?
Yeah, that's honestly, buddy, that's what's going in your mind. And as I've gotten older, I've just realized the mind is such a powerful processor that we don't even use a tenth of. And the more I read about it and everything, the more I'm enthralled with it and what God has given us, and we don't use a tenth of it.
Yeah.
And so and then during that 40 minutes of Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, I'll watch usually Bible things, Bible, whatever podcast, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Again, that's for a reason. Okay, so again, I want to start the day off on a very positive note. relaxing note, but just getting me in the right, what's going to go on during the day. I don't usually, like I answered your text yesterday morning at 5:30 in the morning.
Yes, you did, yeah.
But then I turned off the phone after that. I mean, I just put on airplane mode because I didn't want to be disturbed.
It's tempting to
hey,
email.
That's exactly right. And I start getting emails early in the morning, but I get an alert for mortgage rates at 6 a.m., 6:02.
That's right.
But
you don't need those.
Exactly. But I still see it, but I just ignore it. And then at 7:20 to 7:22, I stop running, and then I go in. And from the night before, I've already set up all what I need to do for my protein shake. So I already have my protein shake. I have like the coconut, the protein powder, the collagen, and there's like 4 other things my wife has me put in it. So it's all out the night before. So then
that's the key right there. You're preparing the night before.
That's exactly
the key, isn't it?
So I'll go through the day with I'll tell you where I end though. But at the same time, so then before I take a shower or anything, I have my shake made. So I spend 5 minutes getting it. I joke my wife, it takes me longer to make the shake than to actually drink it because everything I'm putting into it. But my wife is a key factor in that because she is constantly making sure I'm putting the right things in my body. And like she just told me something else called lion's mane today or something like something with powder or something like that.
Yeah, okay.
Like, what's the heck's lion's mane? She told me, I was like, I don't really care.
Sounds good.
If you tell me it's healthy, I'm going to do it. I trust you. You're not going to kill me yet. I don't think of it. And then I take a shower, get ready. And then about 7:45 to 7:50, I'm back in the kitchen, making the shake, getting it ready. Then 8 o'clock, 8:02, I'm out the door. So I usually see Emily by about 8:05 to 8:10 in the morning.
Yeah. And you're drinking your shake on the way to work.
Yeah, exactly. I was just thinking about this morning. So I'm usually by the time I get to work, I'm done with the shake. And then I put some water in the shake when I get there to clean out, get the rest of like the bee pollen and everything. I want to get that out of there. So I get the last,
all of it.
I'm paying a lot of money for that stuff. So I make sure I get every last
can't
bit
waste
of it.
any. I do
Exactly
the same thing.
Right. So then I start working, in the office by about 8:10.
Yeah.
And then I usually, it's the same thing, calls and everything. And birthday, another thing, key to your listeners, I do my birthday calls.
Yeah.
Usually in the morning, early afternoon. So like on the way here.
Yeah. Is that just a list of birthday calls or is it Facebook calls? How do you determine who you're calling?
It's all my past clients and all the clients or people that I'm working with right now that
they get a personal call from you.
I call, every single.
They love that. I'm pretty sure.
Every single day. Yeah. And like, in fact, I just spoke with someone on the way here and I did a reverse mortgage for her a few years ago and I had helped her and her husband a few years before that and he had passed away. But I called her this morning and it's just great to connect and no business was talked. It was just purely personal.
Yeah.
How are you doing? What are you doing special today? And then we had a conversation about her granddaughter, who's 16 years old, that's coming over today and spending time with her. And I was able to share my memories of my grandparents with her.
Yeah.
It's a human connection.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with making money, nothing to do with, it's just people being people.
You're a real guy making a real connection.
Yeah. And that's really what it is. And, I've been blessed with very wonderful people in my life, to be honest with you. Yeah. And I remember my uncle telling me years ago, he says, people want to know how much you care, but if they care how much you know.
Exactly. I know.
And
cool.
you can know everything about the mortgage business, buddy. You can know how the rates work and everything.
Doesn't matter.
But if that person doesn't believe you care about them, it doesn't matter at the end of the game. And it's making that positive impact on people's lives. And I know it sounds corny, I know it sounds phony, but that's one of the disciplines that I've done for years. I mean, and handwritten thank you cards. In fact, when I worked at Bose Corporation, one of the things they incorporated was handwritten thank you cards. Because when I started there, they would do thank you cards for the big purchases, like the lifestyle systems that they're called at the time, $2,000-$3,000 systems. And the boss of my time at the time, his name's Jim Dillon. He's a good friend of mine, still lives in Salem, still a great friend. Went running last weekend. And I started doing I said, Jim, why don't we do thank you cards for even the wave radios? $300 things. Why don't we do them for those? And he said, well, we've always done it. I said, why don't we do them for this?
Yeah.
So
what a cool thing.
And I said, it's because those people are going to be our customers in the future as well. So why not let them have that connection? Yeah. And so we do, I do thank you cards every day, but my wife does the thank you cards now and everything. So thank you cards. So I call people on their birthdays, do all the calls during the day, but then lunch, it's usually 12 to 1. Nowadays, I only take about 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes for lunch. It's usually salad almost every day or tuna fish.
Do you bring it with you or do you go back home?
I usually go home. Just because
you live close by the office.
I live about a mile away, but
You got to go home.
Right. And there's a couple reasons. One, I need to get out. I want fresh air. I need to get out.
Yeah.
And then I want to see my wife for a few minutes. If she's around, I want to see her for a few minutes. Yep. And then I'll eat, and it's something healthy, but it's nothing. And then I joke with Emily about it too. I'll usually have, so I'm not perfect. I have usually 1 or 2 graham crackers.
That's right. You love graham crackers.
Graham crackers. And then, they're not very fattening, so I can get a little bit of sweet in me.
Yeah.
And then I'll have like a handful of raisins.
Yeah.
And then,
perfect.
And then usually a juice. My wife will make me a juice or athletic greens. Sometimes
that's for lunch still.
That's usually in the afternoon. That's usually 2 or 3.
Okay.
To keep my energy level up and everything.
But you're bringing that with you after lunch.
Correct. Yeah. So usually bring it with me.
I've noticed so far you're prepared on every account.
Yes. Yeah.
Like that's the magic is creating a rhythm of being prepared.
Exactly. And to be honest with you, it's one of those things that you have to start out with wins. So that's why I start out with a win, getting up in the morning. Okay. Not with an alarm, getting up in the morning, starting out with a win.
Yeah.
Okay. Reading, starting out with a win. And then having these things ready to go. Yeah. You don't have to waste the time to think about it. It's there.
It's right there. What you said it. If you have to stop and think about it, then you also have the option to think that you don't want to go do it.
That's exactly right.
I can find myself negotiating with myself. I'm like, why am I up so early? I literally can do that. I'm like, and I fail in those areas quite a bit.
Guess what? You're human.
Right.
Exactly.
I'm human,
right.
but
yep.
I also have to prepare myself so I stop thinking and just do.
Right. That's exactly right.
I love this.
Yeah. And one of the things my son has been a very big catalyst to me as well, because I can't expect him to do something if I'm not doing it.
Ooh, leadership.
Exactly. And he started really training because he was not blessed, and he'll tell you, blessed athletically like some other kids, but he was blessed with hard work ethic. And basically, I remember Tim Tebow, and he got it from Tim Tebow, is basically hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. Okay.
And that was one.
That's kind of his motto. But he started really getting into listening to things and hearing things. But one of the things it was some general from the Navy or something like that. And they said, start out the win every day by making your bed.
Have you read the book Before Make Your Bed?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. So he made that. My son Connor read it, and then he asked me to read it. But it was that. It's starting it out, because you start the day that way, but you end it that way as well, because you come back and it's already done. It's made. Yeah. And so throughout the day, I'm doing the business calls and stuff, and I don't usually leave the office, and it's a running joke. I don't usually leave the office till 6:30 or 7.
Really? You're putting in long days.
Yeah, I'm putting in long days, but part of it is it's all designed. But remember when my son was growing up, the big part was my dad and my mom divorced when I still remember it, when I was going to my freshman year of high school. And I still remember to this day. And I say this because I think it's important, because you see how this all adds up throughout my life. But my dad came from an alcoholic family, like I told you about. He never said the word "I love you." Okay, and it wasn't because he didn't know how to express it, because he was never shown love. So I can't, and as I look back, I can't expect him to show me love if he's never been given love.
That's right.
And I remember this day, it was Father's Day going into my freshman year. And I remember to this day, we were at my grandparents' house in Irvine, California at the time. And it was a weird day. It was just a weird feeling I had throughout that day. And I was young, but as I look back, I remember going home that night. I remember my dad saying, "I love you." And it kind of struck me like, that's interesting.
That's interesting.
And then that night, my mom told me that she was divorcing my dad. And I was like, and it turned my world upside down, to be honest with you. And so that's when, as I look back again, I've kind of gone to the other extreme with my son, where, you just love, I want to show him love and tell him I love him all the time, because I wasn't like that. Yeah. So I want to be the father that probably I didn't have. Even though I had a lot of father figures in my life, I didn't have that person.
Yeah.
And so when Connor was growing up and he was big into sports, another reason getting up early, making sure I got up early so I could spend, usually it was about from 7 to 8 o'clock with him.
Yeah.
Until I went to work.
That's so cool.
So, and he was homeschooled, but we would go out usually from about 7:15 to 7:30 in the morning. And during summer especially, we'd go outside, and I would be by my house, he'd be across the street, and I'd throw like these foam yellow balls to him, and he'd hit them up against our house, across the street, up against our house, over the house. But it was our time together. And then I said earlier, I take 10 or 15 minute lunches. I would take an hour before, but I'd come home, eat lunch, and then we would go to the cage over at the baseball field that we've been fortunate enough to use for all these years. And I'd spend 45 minutes, an hour with him in the cage doing things with him. So that was, again, the time that we had together that was special from that perspective, but also we had time to talk and communicate and, get mad at each other, like father and son do.
Totally.
And I made a lot of mistakes with him, and I told him, I've made mistakes. Don't do these things with your kid. But we created that bond. And then, but I'd come home at 6:30 usually. But it's because he knew that I spent that time with him earlier. I needed to do things during the day to make up for that time.
That's right.
That I was away from the office.
Yeah.
And so I usually come around 6:30 or 7, and then. Usually with him, it was usually no later than 6:30 because I still wanted to be able to spend a couple hours in the evening. And then I would usually go to bed 9:30, 9:45, but I'd work about a half an hour before I went to bed to make sure I was caught up in anything in between the time.
Nothing gets missed on your watch for sure.
I try not to. I mean, there's things to do, obviously, because again, I'm not perfect and I don't want your listeners to think I'm perfect because I'm not.
But you have a great routine and that helps. Work ethic does matter. I'd rather have... the quote Tim Tebow has, being a hard worker versus talented.
Talent. Exactly.
Hard work is a blessing.
Yeah, it really is. And like Emily's a very hard worker and stuff. And I think that's the big thing. But and you say I don't miss any days. I literally do not miss days. Okay. And what I mean by that is if I know I'm going to miss a day for some reason, I will pre-plan. So let me give you an example. So
I want an example.
I knew I was going to be gone. I was going to go down to see my son last Saturday morning, early in the morning. Yep. So I was leaving. I had to leave my house at 3 in the morning to get there to the airport by 4:15 because I had to check luggage that day because I was taking some bats down to him. So I knew I wasn't going to have time to work out Saturday morning, but I knew I could run that day.
Yeah.
And Saturday and Sundays will run 7 miles each day, Saturday and Sunday.
Wow.
So I know it's going to take me an hour and 15 minutes. Especially down there because of lights and everything.
Yep.
I knew based on our schedule, I wasn't going to have time to work out. Okay. So Friday morning last week, I would do my normal routine. In fact, I went out to Salem, meet Jim Denellen. We ran 5 miles that morning, got back to the office by 8:15. And then at lunch, I took 15 minutes to eat, but then I worked out for Saturday's workout.
Got it.
So Saturday, that time I would have worked out arms and biceps. So that I worked out Friday because I knew I wasn't going to be able to Saturday.
So you did your typical morning routine, you did your body workout, you did your running, and then at lunch you did your Saturday workout.
I did my Saturday workout, and then Saturday morning I got up early at 2:30, and in fact 2:25 because my son saw my phone a couple of days later. He said, "What are you doing up that early?" That's what I told him. So he's like, "Are you serious?" And I said, "Yeah." But it was a lesson for him.
Okay.
It was a lesson for him. You don't miss. You keep
don't
things.
miss.
Right. Okay. You owe it to yourself to do that. And so I had like 10 minutes extra that morning before I left. So I did some ab workout just because I didn't want to waste time, which sounds crazy. And it is crazy. I get it. I am crazy at times. And then got into the airport, got blah, blah. And then I read a little bit of the airport and then got into Orange County. And then he picked me up. Then he took me back to his apartment. And then he went and did his hitting and workout with his friends. But I ran at that point because I knew I'd have that time.
Yeah.
So I ran for an hour and 20 minutes.
There's your 7 miles.
So then I did my thing. Okay. So then.
You don't miss.
No. And then Saturday, Sunday, I was coming back Wednesday morning. Okay. So Saturday and Sunday I did my normal stuff. Oh, Sunday I did normal stuff. I knew Wednesday I was not going to be able to work out because I had an early flight and we were going to an Angel Games the night before.
Yeah.
So I knew I wasn't going to be getting home until 10:30 or 11 on Tuesday night.
Yeah.
And usually if I'm down there, I'll still work out like at 4:15 to 4:45, 45 before I leave there. But I knew I'd wanted a little bit extra sleep till 4:30 that morning because I was going to get in bed late.
Yeah.
So Monday, I worked out twice on Monday. So basically I worked out twice on Monday because I knew Tuesday I wasn't going to have much time. So I worked out twice on Monday. And then Tuesday I worked out for my Wednesday workout. And then I ran Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, 5 days in a row.
Wow.
Which normally I don't do, but I did it for 2 reasons. One, because I knew I'd miss my Wednesday running.
Yeah.
Because I usually run Tuesday and Wednesday. I knew I missed Wednesday. But then I ran over those 5 days, I ran 27 miles. But that is, again, it was a shock to the system, shock to my body, because I ran 5 straight days.
Well, that's a good thing, right? That shock to the system.
Exactly. Because I don't want my body to get used to the same thing over and over.
Got it. It can get comfortable. That's interesting.
And then like when my friend and I ran last Friday, he said, Jeff, you and I are alike in the sense that we like to push ourselves and push our minds to a different level. Okay. And I didn't really think about it at the time, but that's what in essence, what I'm doing is, so then Monday, I'm not used to running on Monday a lot of times. Yeah. So I have to run 4 miles. So your mind is telling you, this isn't right. This isn't normal. Jeff. Exactly. That's exactly right. But he's saying, don't do this. So the first mile is tough, but then after that, it's just the same thing. And then Tuesday, my body's kind of used to it because I'm used to Tuesdays, but it's still 5 straight days. But as I look back, my Tuesday morning run, I was much stronger Tuesday morning than I was Monday morning. But again, that's your body and that's your mind saying something's different here.
Back to the power of the mind. The mind's like, no, you take Mondays off, Jeff. You shouldn't run. You may not be as quite up for that run, but Tuesday, nope, you run on Tuesdays. Mm-hmm. That's okay.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. And another thing, I mentioned, so Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, I'll listen to, I'll watch things on podcasts, video, Bible stuff. But then again, to treat myself on Saturday and Sunday, I'll then listen to audiobooks. I'll listen to whatever may be podcasts. Like I was listening to podcasts coming over here and stuff that my son had sent me on Geno Smith from the Seahawks. And he said, Dad, you got to listen to this. You'll love Geno Smith. It's everything that, we talk about.
Okay.
And so I listen to that Saturday and Sundays. But that's kind of my treat to myself is, hey, I've done all this during the week.
I'm still working out, but I'm going to listen to whatever I want on the weekend.
So an hour and 10 minutes, I can listen to like that, but I'm also educating myself and finding out new things.
Yeah.
But then during the run, I'm saying certain things to myself in my mind that say things over and over again.
These like positive affirmation type things?
Yeah, like one thing I'll say, like I'm strong spiritually, mentally, and physically, or I take long, powerful, steady strides. I'm very thankful for this clean, healthy, wonderful breath.
Yeah.
I enjoy getting my heart rate up, my blood pumping.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm
boom, 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 boom.
Exactly, because it's a mental grind when you're running. That 7 miles isn't long, but it's not short.
It's quite a while.
But it's my time.
Yeah.
To be alone.
Yeah.
And get my mind straight.
Walk me through a little bit. I know that we were talking probably a month ago when I saw you out in Dallas. You said your wife thinks you're kind of crazy sometimes, because you are definitely regimented on your schedule. How does that impact that relationship? You said you work till 6:30 or 7. What time do you eat dinner?
Yeah.
And then what time do you go to bed? Those are some key factors here.
Yeah, and like I told you, we talked when I came in, and congratulations you and Shan having a great long marriage and celebrating one last week as well. And we're celebrating ours today. And but I'm very blessed that she's very understanding. I know I'm probably not the easiest person to live with. We have a lot of fun together, but I do push her buttons at times, I'm sure, because of the way I can joke, but also because I'm so regimented. And my son's very regimented, so she gets it from both sides.
Yeah.
But she knows, she's a phenomenal cook, and she takes great care of me. And so I will usually eat between 6:15 to 7 o'clock in that ballpark, right in that time frame. Yeah. And usually she'll either have dinner ready to go, or we may have something warmed up from the night before.
Yeah.
Whatever it may be. And it's usually a lot of protein, usually, chicken, steak, maybe fish, beans, rice.
Yep. Veggies.
And I'm very picky. I'm a very picky eater, where she and my son they'll eat anything.
Yeah.
I'm veggies like broccoli last night. I'm much more picky. So she caters to me on that. But I'm very thankful that she's understanding of that. So, but then we'll have dinner like that, and spend some time together, usually at the dinner table.
Yep.
Pretty much always at the dinner table.
Yeah, not great. A family who still sits at the dinner table and has a meal and has conversation.
Yeah. And that's her doing. She always wanted to make sure we did that with Connor as well.
So important.
Yeah.
Okay, I know that you're not a huge dessert fan, so like after dinner, you guys don't eat ice cream and Is there any confessions here, Jeff, or are you guys pretty clean?
I have a sweet tooth. Okay. I really have a sweet tooth. And, I used to love having like, M&Ms or peanut M&Ms and stuff at night. I mean, cause I love chocolate. I still love chocolate. I love peanuts. Yeah. But probably about four years ago or so, I realized I cannot keep working out like I do and eating even this stuff, even though it's just a little bit, it's still not great for you.
Right.
And so what's kind of a sweet treat? Well, raisins. Raisins are a sweet treat. They're good for you.
Yeah.
Some sugar in it, but
natural sugar.
It gets rid of my sweet tooth, but again, regimented. So usually about, like last night I went and mowed the yard and everything after dinner, but then about 7:45 to 8:15 is usually my wife and I'll go upstairs and we'll have the TV on and then we'll be watching Netflix or something and we'll eat blueberries or some fruit every night.
Yeah. That's your snack. That's your sweet tooth.
We have a snack every night at that time frame. And then after that, I'll usually, and Emily knows about this, is I'll usually have like a protein bar or a protein ball that she makes. It's just protein but again, it has a little bit of sweet taste to it, like coconut or something. Yeah. And then I'll have that with a glass of milk. It's a glass of milk at night, every night, glass of milk, and that every single night.
That's funny.
But it kind of gets rid of that sweet tooth.
Totally.
And but then it's like clockwork, and she jokes about it. She likes 8:58, 8:59, 9 o'clock. You're downstairs, so I'm downstairs at like 9 o'clock. I'll get a handful of raisins and drink a little bit of water, and then I'm off to bed. But it's clockwork like that. Yeah,
man, you're a regimented.
That's good and bad, buddy. I mean, it is good and bad. I will admit that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's better to have good habits than bad habits. Yeah. We all have a habit. Mm-hmm. The question is it good or bad?
Correct.
Okay, so then your evening routine, are you in bed by 9:30?
Yes, I'm usually in bed. I'll back up. So usually by 8 o'clock, I've gone out in the garage and set up the weights and everything for the next morning. So the weights and everything, the med ball is all set up, ready to go for the morning.
Man.
So again, and I go out there and it's dark. So again, I have the hood up and it's dark out. So the only light I have on out there is usually the phone, is my light phone.
Yeah.
Or I'll have the light from the visor that I wear, out running at night.
Right.
I'll put that on, but I just like it
dark.
Dark is it's
calming.
Quiet. Exactly. That's it. Right. Exactly right, buddy. I don't want light. I just want it calm.
I'll typically get up in the morning for a long time and I don't want to turn the lights on and wake Sean up. Mm-hmm. So if I'm listening to my Bible app or something, it's all dark and it's calm and quiet.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah.
I started recently going upstairs. My dad gets up every morning between 5 and 6, and he goes to his chair that he sits at. And yesterday morning, I went upstairs, lights on like my dad would do, and I'm sitting in almost the identical chair he has. It's funny, I'm like, man, I'm just like my dad. Kind of funny, anyway.
But that's a good thing. He's a great man. So I mean, it's not a bad thing to have.
Not a bad thing at all.
No,
but
exactly.
But I love that you taught your son great habits. And I think it's really important for him. Modeling for people is not what you say, it's what you do.
Mm-hmm. Exactly right.
People, blah, 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 they don't really care what you say. They're always going to watch what you do.
That's exactly right.
So I always learned if I didn't like what my kids were doing, I actually had to look in the mirror and go, you know what are some areas I need to change? Yeah. And it held me at a higher standard.
That's exactly
for accountability.
Yeah.
So
and there's a quote in Trevor Moawad.
I love that guy.
Yeah, Trevor Moawad.
It takes what it takes.
That's exactly right. And getting to neutral. Getting to neutral.
That was a
great book. So yeah, and unfortunately he passed away a couple years ago.
I can't believe I read the book. Then he passes away.
Yes.
He's a young guy too.
Yeah, he was 52, I think 51. Yeah, he was young.
He was older than I thought.
Yeah, he was young. I mean, he may have been. I mean, maybe his late 40s, but he was young.
Yeah.
But I remember him saying about Nick Saban basically, and said something about you're speaking so loudly. I mean, your actions are speaking so loudly. I can't hear a word you're saying.
Right.
And that really resonated with me. Is that our actions speak so loud that what we're saying may not mean anything to someone.
Right. Mm-hmm. Dude, that is a great book. I do some coaching, and I'm coaching with a guy named Michael. Michael, hope you're listening. Michael's a UFC guy, but we got on the whole idea of the Trevor Moawad, it takes what it takes, and we've really enjoyed the whole process of reading this book. It means a lot because our self-talk, he goes, what kind of a performance coach at Alabama do to impact people to perform at a higher level? It's if you have a negative thought, don't say it out loud.
Exactly.
Get back to neutral. If you're going to speak, just it stays in your brain and hopefully dissipates at some point in time. But getting to neutral thinking, that's hard work because our thought pattern goes to negative. Our brain's wired to keep us safe. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to Emily about this even last weekend. We're all struggling with mindset, having a good attitude, positive attitude, and not making assumptions about people or situations. How do we make it a positive thought? And she quoted a verse, 2 Corinthians 10:5 says, we're destroying speculation and every thought raised up against the knowledge of God and taking every thought captive to the obedience of Christ. And so that is a mindset, taking every thought captive to the obedience of Christ. And it was really good. We're all working through that mindset.
Exactly.
We all look good. We smile once in a while, but what's going on in this brain is pretty interesting. So I definitely recommend that book as you do. Yeah, love that.
The other book I recommend to your audience is The Confident Mind by Dr. Nate Zisner. The thing I told Connor, my son, about Trevor Moawad.
Yeah.
And even like Tim Grover, who did Michael Jordan's trainer stuff.
Yeah.
And so, but the thing I told they're great about what they talk about, but they don't teach you how to do these things.
Right.
Whereas Dr. Zisner from The Confident Mind.
Yeah.
I started listening to that book, and that was another thing that just is a God thing. It came to me through Audible, and I just looked at it and I started listening to it on a Saturday morning, and I texted Connor that morning. He was on a run, and I texted him. I said, Connor, this is the book. You have to read this book. I mean, this is a must. And I listened to it more on Sunday, and I said, Connor, this is a game changer. I'm telling you, listen to this book, because it tells you what Trevor Moawad was trying to do, but it teaches you how to do it. It teaches you to train your mind.
And this is why I had you on here, Jeff, because I think you have a level of discipline that most people can only dream of. It's an area I struggle with is discipline. I know what I should do.
Right.
I know I shouldn't eat sugar, but I like sugar.
Right.
And the more I think about not eating it, the more I want it.
Right.
I know I should get up in the morning and work out, and I do. I get up at between 4:30 and 5, and oftentimes talk myself out of doing it.
Exactly. And you mentioned when we talked about it a month ago, you said it's so easy to do. It's so easy to be disciplined like that. It is very easy, but not everyone can do it. And I think we can all do it. I think everyone has the power to do it.
Yeah.
It's the power of the mind to be able to control your mind to be able to do it. And that, and that's the big thing is the mind has to be stronger than your emotions. And that's from Tim Grover.
Dude.
The mind has to be stronger than your emotions. So often our emotions control our mind.
Yes.
And we have to control our emotions. And it's not easy to do.
Right.
Because we are human. But I think, like the sugar part of it, and I've been thinking about this, and you're Christian and everything.
Yeah.
And one of my uncles, he's not really my uncle biologically or anything, but he's
uncle. Yeah.
He's been with us for 40 years, and he's 70 years old, but he looks probably 50. I mean, he just eats healthy. And he does, have a treat every so often. I believe you have to treat yourself every so often. So I might go to Five Guys, once every 3 weeks and have a burger or something like that. But he eats super healthy. But, he said, Jeff, your body is like a Ferrari. Okay. If you had a Ferrari, you wouldn't put 88 gasoline in it.
Right.
You would put high octane gas in there. And if you put 88 in there, it's not going to run like a 92.
Right.
And he says, and basically, God has given us this perfect body. You think about the creation of the body and just the recuperative part of the body, what it can do for you. But if you really look at the body, how amazing it is, what he's done for us, are we really serving him by putting crap into our body?
That's convicting, by the way, man.
Okay. And that's what I've really started learning over the past few years and thinking about that is am I really serving God by doing this to my body?
You're not.
And you're not.
You're not.
Yeah. But he wants us to enjoy it. Like he even says in the Bible, have some alcohol. Okay. Just moderately.
Yeah.
Okay. But look at what he's provided us with: vegetables, meat. It's right there what we need to have.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think that's really impacting. Is like, am I really serving him like it should be if I'm not. And then the mind part of it started coming into it. And I've always known the mind is powerful because my uncle always said, we use maybe 1/10 of our brain, and we have the most powerful computer in the world is our mind.
Yeah.
But we probably use 1/10 of it.
If crazy? That's on a good day.
That's exactly
right.
Let's
just be, call it what it is.
That's exactly right. And so that's what I started realizing over the last few years is I've got to start using my mind even more to the full capacity. And I'm never going to get there, but if I can use it the most I can possibly can, then I'm serving even better.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not perfect.
Jeff, that's why I want to hang around with guys like you, is because you don't judge me, but you call me to a higher calling. We know the word that iron sharpens iron, is one man sharpens another man.
Exactly.
This is iron sharpens iron, man. Like, you admit that you have a sweet tooth. Like, I thought I was the only guy, but apparently you do too. But you've controlled the mind. You've put things in place that help you overcome those urges of sweetness, of sugar. And trust me, I love peanut M&Ms too, man. It's like one of my favorite. In fact, we went to a movie last weekend. We haven't had popcorn and M&Ms in years.
Right.
Because my wife's gluten-free now. But last weekend, it was on our anniversary last week. We went to the movies in Independence and got popcorn and M&Ms. And afterwards, I don't feel good. Like, I know that's not the way I need to live.
That's exactly right.
I'm really encouraged, though, that you don't miss. And I have way more respect for people who actually live out what they say. It's not that I don't respect people that talk a good game. I just have way more respect for people actually doing it. And that's pretty amazing. That's what you do. And
I appreciate that. That means a lot coming from you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and that's really huge. So let's wrap up the podcast. We're going to close up here in just a moment, but this has been fantastic. I know your mom and dad got divorced when you said, what, freshman in high school?
13 or 14 years old, correct.
Is your dad still alive?
No, he passed away of liver failure.
Okay.
Liver cancer or whatever it was.
Did you guys ever end up being close after that?
No, we never.
He said, I love you, got divorced, and...
Yeah, very, very, very limited contact with him. Not because I didn't initially want to. We just never connected.
Yeah.
And I still remember that he called me on a Christmas day after my sister had passed and left a message basically saying, yeah, I heard your sister died of overdose or something like that, which it wasn't, but it was just kind of random. But I regret now that he's passed, I regret that I didn't talk to him or communicate with him at the time. But at the same time, I don't harbor any hard feelings for him or anything, just because I know where he's coming from. And I think everything happens for a reason. And I was very blessed with people in my life. And I God brings people in our lives at certain times. And it's our job to get good or bad out of them. And I was blessed, had moved in to our new neighborhood just before a year or so before they got divorced. And a guy named Billy, who's like a dad to me. He's about 70 years old now, but we still communicate probably once a week to this day.
No way.
Yeah, to this day. Probably one of the greatest men, other than like my family, my uncles and stuff in my life.
Yeah.
But he taught me so much. And, I thank him to this day for being there when my dad wasn't. And I think, that was God's way of putting someone else that was going to be there on a daily basis for going through high school is what it was.
Yeah. The word I was starting to think of a little bit ago was progress over perfection.
Oh, yes.
Nobody's perfect. We all fail.
Yes.
That's not the issue. Are we moving forward in the right direction?
That's exactly right, buddy. The process.
It's interesting. You're talking about like this mentorship. You had your grandfather, you had Billy, you had different people in your life that mentored you. Part of the rec here, just to share like what Tim Davis and a bunch of guys do, is created a nonprofit called Valor Mentoring. And so we mentor men specifically, middle school to 90 years old. It doesn't matter. And the reality is we all need a mentor.
Correct.
Either I show up as a mentor at times and I show up as a mentee at times.
Absolutely.
And there's no ego.
Yep.
And like if I need to learn from you, wouldn't matter if it's mortgage, health, how to be a better husband, father, I'm open. Like, Lord, what do you need to teach me today?
That's exactly right.
And I think the word that I'm thinking of, I was on a coaching call yesterday. We were talking about this word, this virtue, humility. And there's been times in my life when I haven't been humble and like I thought I had arrived. But if life only gets as good as we are today, how boring would that be? No, the humility allows us to keep learning and growing And I think that's where I see you, Jeff, is you're excited about life. You get up every day, you're grinding through it, and you're still learning.
Yep.
And you're humble. And I think
try to be
people,
humble. Yeah, I try to be humble.
Yeah, I think that's why people like you, man. That's why people
gravitate. No, that means a lot.
You work hard for people, man. Your wife, your son, your clients.
Yeah.
But
it's fun.
Yeah.
It is fun.
Well, hey, we talked about a lot. This is fantastic. I was into podcasts this way. Like, Jeff, is there anything that's on your mind, your heart, your soul that you want to share that maybe we didn't touch on, that just an exclamation on the end of our podcast to challenge somebody? We have an epidemic of overweight people,
correct,
on drugs, on alcohol. And I don't think people want to be there. I think there's a pain in their life they've just never dealt with. Now, it's not a judgment. I'm just saying, I've got issues, and I can fall back into, I like comfort food, if I'm being honest. But
right, absolutely.
It could be alcohol, it could be drugs, it could be whatever. How do we help people and encourage people to be accountable, to show up, to progress over perfection? Nobody needs to be perfect.
Right.
If you fall down, get back up, do it again. How do you leave our audience with some positivity? What's that nugget you got for us?
Gosh, that's a great question, buddy. I think it's just being human, being real, and knowing that we're all going to make mistakes. We talked about that. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. We're all going to make mistakes. We're on this great big ball together. And unfortunately, there's so much divisiveness going on in this world right now. There's so much negativity. If you can just be that person in another person's life that makes them smile, makes them be happy, even for a minute. Maybe, if it's at work, maybe, maybe for Emily, it's her sanctuary being at work or something like that. If you can just have a positive impact on people's lives, and be there for them, non-judgmental, like we spoke about, not, judging them. Hey, they're bad because they don't eat right, or, they may drink or something like that. We all have issues. Like you said,
yes,
buddy, we all have issues. We all have our crosses to bear. And like I spoke about my sister passing away. Okay. Yeah. It's hard to talk about, but maybe it can impact people's lives. Okay. We're all going to fall down. Are you going to get back up? Are you going to be there to help someone back up? Are you going to be non-judgmental with them? I think just saying love you to someone. Okay. Like I had a client this morning said, hey, Spencer and I tell you we love you. Okay.
How cool is that?
Yeah. And I say, I love you guys too. Yeah. Okay. But love, for some reason, people don't want to say love. And God put us on here to love each other.
That's right.
To have relationships.
That's right.
To build a relationship with each other. And I think that's what you've done well over your career, buddy. And is relationships with people, whether it's your clients or people here at the Rec, it's your relationships. And we can't take money with us. I've never seen a Brinks truck following a hearse. Okay.
Never.
You can't take it with you. Okay. But what you're going to leave behind is the legacy your kids have that they're going to be able to share with their grandkids. Like my grandparents' legacy that I'm sharing with my son.
Yeah.
Okay. What are we going to give? And I like to say, give to people, help people. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable.
Right.
And like Billy, I still remember one of the greatest things he taught me. One of the biggest things he taught me was, don't be afraid to cry. Don't be afraid to cry, Jeff. Don't be afraid to express your emotions, because it's okay to express your emotions. And the other thing he taught me, and I thought it was great when your wife was leaving, is you said, love you, baby. I love you. Okay. And he always taught me, he said, Jeff, never be afraid to tell your mom you love her before you leave.
That's
okay.
Right.
And he said, even in high school, he said, don't worry about what your friends say. And I look back and I tell my son, I never had a friend tell me or put me down for saying I love you to my mom. Never. And so I always end a conversation with my family or my son, hey, I love you. And for my son, I say the best is ahead. Okay. Like Trevor Moad.
Man.
The best is ahead. And so always leave your family and other people, I love you. Because you don't know what's going to happen between now and if you're going to see them again.
Yeah.
I hate to say that.
It's a fact, though.
Exactly. And that's the thing is I tell my son, when I die, I want you to mourn. I want you to mourn for 24 hours. Nick Saban's rule, 24 hours. After that, you need to move on, because this ball is going to keep spinning. They're going to feel sorry for you for a short time, but you have to get out there and start living again. As hard as it is, hopefully it's hard, but you got to move on.
Yeah.
And my uncle taught me that, he taught me that as well, is you got to keep moving.
Man, I love this, dude. Well, here's the deal, Jeff. We're going to wrap up here. We're going to do this again. I want to, there's some that are just so special that I think there's so much value we can pass on. So in about 6 months, you and I will do this again. Lord willing.
I'd love to.
And, well, hey, just a quick shout out to the Rec. Just thank you for hosting each week. Camden, we appreciate you. And we love that all you listeners listen each week. We hope that it impacts somebody. I pray that you'll share it with somebody. That think of 10 people and share us with 10 people, because it's a great message. Message of hope, a message of encouragement and love. And that's what I want to take away. So thank you, Jeff. We appreciate you, man.
It's totally my pleasure. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.